Hello and welcome to The Root of All Real Estate. I'm your host, Etienne Meller, owner of 3 real estate agencies with 20 plus years of experience generating over 20 million in yearly gross revenue. I'm very happy to have you join us today. Whether you're a seasoned real estate agent, a business owner, a first-time home buyer, or just curious about the latest market trends, we've got something for everyone. Now let's get started.
You're listening to The Root of All Real Estate with Serujan, Kaneshalingam. Remember the name.
So, my buddy.
How you doing?
I'm so excited today, man.
Really?
So much to talk about. So much transpired over the, a year? 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
I mean, if I go back 1 year, you've got, I'm going to throw big names now, but we've got what? Ryan Serujan.
Yeah, not even a year. Well, the podcast came out in September last year, so it's been a year.
So there you go.
And
then an even bigger name, if I can say that, with all due respect to Ryan, but for those that don't know, Patrick Davis.
Yeah.
Davis?
David.
Who is he? Let's explain that, because I know everybody knows who Ryan Serujan is, but
Patrick David, he's an entrepreneur, a business owner, businessman. He's been in the business for more than 20 years now. He built an empire in the insurance business.
Which is big money business.
Big money residual. It's not like real estate. It's different.
It's huge.
50,000 agents across the whole United States.
Comes from nothing.
Comes from nothing. He's an immigrant from I think he was born in Iran, but he's half Syrian and half Armenian. So he came when he was like 10 years old, got into the States.
Built this whole thing with, I mean, it's impressive. He also wrote a book not that long ago.
Plenty of books. He wrote like a couple of books.
But the most recent one, I forgot what it's called now.
Choose
it's 5.
Your Enemy Wisely.
Is that the one? Anyway, I read one, and it's pretty interesting, pretty fascinating. Great podcast. He has 5 billion trillion followers.
Yeah, he got a lot of followers.
He had the future president. Donald Trump was on that right after last week. There you go. So let's start from what you want to start with, Ryan. Like what? So first of all, how do you even approach someone like that? And this is what I admire from you. You do not shy away. You're not scared to approach anybody. It seems, anyways. Yeah. And I love that. I mean, the just already says so much about who you are. But how did you approach Ryan?
Great question, man. So basically, the reason I got in touch with Ryan is because of PBD. So
really?
Yeah. So the story is, I bumped into PBD in Miami South Beach. Like I had
just by fluke.
Just out of nowhere. Like I was walking down the street, and I've been consuming his content for more than a couple of years now. He gives out like a lot of good content on marketing, on sales. He used to do those big long videos where he talks about like, hey, how to win friends, how to influence people.
Yeah, if you're not following him on YouTube, I think it's everywhere, but YouTube is a great platform to follow him on.
He's a great teacher, right? So I've been following him, and I remember like in the morning I was having a breakfast with my fiancée, and I told her about Miami South Beach, which is a famous road, right, street, and I told her, hey, we never know who we can bump into, right? I told her that in the morning, and then later at night she wanted to go shopping. I hate shopping. She convinced me to go. It's the best decision in my life, because right after, when we're walking down, like we were walking back to the hotel, I see a big tall dude by himself with 2 of his boys. Like they're having a family time. So that's the first time I encountered Patrick David, and I screamed, "Hey babe, that's Patrick David!" So that was a special moment.
And you got to talk to him.
I had to talk. I talked to him for like 20-30 seconds. I was so stressed.
Right.
I wanted to talk about many things. Yeah. And also,
but you didn't want to disrupt either his family time. I guess
that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I was so mad at myself, because I'm the type of guy who always try. So I wish I could have stayed a little bit longer, like keep them a little bit longer. But I saw the boys. They weren't really happy about the conversation. So I left it there. But I was so mad about myself that I wanted to have a deeper conversation. So I said, and I wanted to ask him for a podcast. That's the whole reason why I was mad. So you know what? I said, I was looking at on his social medias, he was organizing an event the same week.
There in Miami?
Yeah, there in Miami.
Okay.
But I was leaving in 2 days. His conference in 3 days. I told my girl, babe, like I'm
staying?
open. I'm open to like push the date. Bring your friends so you can enjoy Miami by yourself. You know. So we spoke to our friends in Montreal. They were super down to come to Miami. So my friends came. They were like, you know, like visiting the city. I went to the conference and stayed there for like 3 days.
What was the conference about? Like, was it just sales?
It was a sales leader summit. So all the salespeople, they like to go there. It's a high ticket conference as well. Like the minimum ticket is like, I think, $5,000.
Okay.
So
you got a ticket. Did the 3 days?
3 days, yeah.
Learned a lot, I'm sure.
I learned a lot, and just crazy. After the conference, I went from 0 agents to like, I think 5-6 agents right after. You know, it's always mind blowing, and you always learn stuff, right? And I was telling in the whole conference, I was meeting people, and I said one day I'll have PBD. And imagine having PBD like in front of like 300, 400 people, and there's this guy who's saying crazy stuff like having PBD.
Yeah.
They didn't really take me seriously, and I was trying to like make friends with all the people that knows PBD, and I told them, hey, put me in contact with PBD. I really want to talk to him. And there's this guy who helped me a lot. He said, hey, listen, buddy, chill. I'll put you in contact. Like when there's gonna be a good moment,
an opportunity,
I'll speak to PBD, and you will have the chat. And I remember, like, it was really hard to talk to him because imagine 300 people wanted to talk to him.
But doesn't he have like bodyguards or an entourage of some sort?
Now he has bodyguards. Yeah, now he has bodyguards. In that time, 4 years ago, like he was dabbing into politics, but not fully.
Okay.
So he was only a businessman in that time. So the last day there was a basketball game. Like it was a basketball game, and there was a moment I finally got to talk to a PBD, and I asked him, hey, why don't we do a podcast together? And he asked me this question. He never says no. He's the type of guy who doesn't say no, but
he listens to whatever it is, the opportunity potentially.
100%. Like I feel grateful that in present day, people come to me and ask for different opportunities. So that's one of the reasons why we work so hard, because like when you started, like you had to go ask opportunities. You had to go for the opportunities. Now at your stage, you receive those opportunities.
Well, I still ask.
I mean, at the same time, you get those opportunities.
But yes,
right?
you will get more opportunity. Of
100%.
course, obviously.
So I'm the type of dude. He's also that type of guy. So he was listening to me, and he asked me, how many subscribers you got?
How many what?
Subscribers. Like how many
on YouTube?
On
yeah,
YouTube.
Okay.
I didn't want to answer that question because I had like 1,000 in that time. Here's what I said. I said, hey, listen.
So you weren't ready for this question.
I weren't ready. Like to be honest, like I was just excited to ask him that question and see how we respond. Obviously, there's more chance that he says no at that level.
But you never know. You never
know. And I said, listen, I have the biggest podcast in Quebec for brokers and realtors.
Which is true.
Which was true, yeah. I had the #1 podcast in that time. But here's what he said. He said, get to $1 million per podcast, and we'll do the thing with you.
So this is what, 4 years ago?
3.5 years ago, around there. I got excited. I'm like, you know what? I'll make it happen. Come back to Quebec. I think about what he said. He said, $1 million? Wait a minute. In French? Talking to realtors and mortgage brokers? I'll never do it.
It's almost impossible, no?
Impossible.
Just with the potential reach?
Yeah.
But it wasn't just in French? Were you just...
Like I was dabbing into bilingual, like English, but
it was mostly
fully.
French.
Like you were one of the first that I spoke in English.
In English? Okay.
So now I said, okay, no, that's not going to work. I need to find another strategy. And that's the moment that when I was thinking about doing an event, I said, you know what? If I can get him to a podcast, I'll invite him to my event. I'll pay him, so people pay to have access to him. But I'll have a special connection. I'm the one who bring him to Montreal. I thought that was a genius idea. I said,
well, ideas. I mean, it's but I know. I think I can see where you're going. But I'm going to let you.
So what happened is after that, right after I had that idea, I called the right hand, the PBD right hand, Mario. I had his number because of the conference, and I called him, hey, listen, Mario, I want to have PBD. Never been to to Montreal, second largest city in Canada. It's a big market there. There's a French, it's also a French market, so he can tap into that market as well.
A new reach, yeah.
They said, yeah, that could be interesting. He costs $150,000 US if you want to bring him. I'm like, no problem. I don't have the money.
But this is for an event, though.
This is for an event.
Right.
Today, same for an event, it's $500,000 US. God. So he went that big. He said, okay, no problem. Well, if you have the money, we'll make it happen. Have you ever done a conference before? I never done a conference. Not even in front of 30 people. I never organized an event. Hear what he said. Hear what I said. I said, listen, I never answered that question. I said, I have the biggest team. I have the biggest team. So don't worry about it. I'll make it happen. He said, buddy, if you never organize an event, we can't risk it. Like, imagine bringing PBD is pretty big these days, so it's going to be a reputational risk for him. Yeah, like there's a room of 500 people, you only have 200 people. It's not.
Even though he's getting the 150 fee.
Even though
it's still not brand. It's not good for the brand.
It's not good for the brand. They said they're not going to do it. That pissed me off, and that's how I got in touch with Ryan, because I had some contact in the States. I knew the organizer from different events in the States. I asked them, and there's one guy who put me in contact with Ryan because I was telling this story about, like, yeah, I want to get to PBD, and this guy's like, hey, if you want, I can put you in touch with Ryan. You like Ryan? I'm like, Ryan who? Ryan Zerman. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, buddy. What can I do for you? Right. Don't worry about it. I'll put you in contact with Ryan, because he already brought Ryan in San Francisco. He knows pretty well Ryan, so he put me in contact with Ryan, and Ryan filter was much
easier, I guess, to a certain extent. But also at the time, you're primarily focusing on real estate anyways. No? Like, your audience is primarily real estate based.
It was the best fit as well. Because, I was more focused in real estate.
And Ryan was more known by anybody in real estate than Patrick Bet-David.
100%.
So it kind of made sense. It evolved into... So what's the first communication? How did you get to... Didn't you go to New York to meet him? Or
that's after.
Okay.
Like, after I signed the contract. So basically, I spoke with the Ryan team, the one who were responsible for the event site. I came prepared. It was a Zoom call. I sold the city, I sold the vision, I sold the story behind. We never had a conference like this in Montreal. I think people will love Ryan. There's a lot of people who knows Ryan. And he said, okay, let me talk to Ryan and let's make it happen. And they did their verification. I guess they saw my social media. I was consistent. I was sharing stuff. And they said, okay, if you're able to pay the deposit, we're okay.
If you're here, it's because you're taking your career seriously. Etienne Meller will help you get to that next level as long as you're willing to do the work to be able to get there. Now, whether you're a divorced person, whether you're retired, whether you just started out, you might be young, you might not think that you have what it takes to get to the next level, there's something here for everybody. So he'll take the time to show you the ropes, looking at it not as a teacher versus a student, but more as a partnership. And by doing that, you'll be able to get the results that you're looking for. He's always hands-on. He's always willing to do the work and to show you how it's supposed to be done. So it's not an opportunity that will last forever. Take the time, click below, fill out the form. Follow us and find out how we could be instrumental in your success.
From that time where your first contact with the team to the actual event, what was that length of cycle time? Like a couple of months?
What do you mean?
First contact you made with the team?
Yeah, it was maybe in October. No, sorry. We made the podcast in September, so maybe June, July. Around
so it's fast.
It was very fast. Yeah. I didn't have a date. I didn't have the venue. I didn't have anything. I just had Ryan. Once Ryan is closed, it's on the book. Then I'll find the venue. I'll find other people around to make a conference. But I knew that if I have Ryan, everything will come easy after.
So you're learning at the same time. So you're doing it's a new thing to do an event and to make it that size, because it's a big project. Your first kind of, let's call it better known, bigger name to book. What are you learning here? What did you learn? Because you must have made some mistakes. I mean, it's almost impossible doing anything that big. There's going to be some major surprises, no?
Yeah, there's a lot of mistakes that I have done. Like, obviously, it's a big stage. from the managing the whole conference.
Are they helping you at all, his team, to kind of guide you? Or
surprisingly, like whatever you put on the contract, they'll do it, but nothing else.
Okay.
Like let's say let's say I share something about Ryan, they're not gonna share it. Like I don't know if Ryan is seeing that, so he's the one who's managing his social media.
Okay.
They're not gonna really do it.
So it's really whatever you, but and drafting the contract. I mean, you can't think of all the things that you may want to have in the contract before you do it.
I got better at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, if you do it again,
yeah.
for sure. I mean, you're adding some stuff, or you're negotiating certain things.
100%. Like I just signed a contract last week for my next conference. And I already have the main speaker.
Can we say who it is, or we can't?
We can't really say it right now, but it's going to be announced very soon. But he's pretty big as well.
Okay.
He's crazy. So yeah, now I know what exactly I want. So you learn through the process, and at the end of the day, I had a good team behind me, right? So I was very confident. But it's something that I never done. So I was going somewhere where I just knew that if I do the things correctly, it would just happen.
It was going to work out, and it did work out. And let's talk about the what you learned. Like what's the maybe the top 3 things that you're like, either from him or from the actual experience, or
it's super hard to sell an event. Super hard. It's like selling insurance. You have to create that need. It's a luxury, right? So mortgages,
and especially, sorry to interrupt, but especially at the timing of it, it's not been that easy in real estate over the last 2 or 3 years.
100%.
So
if we were negotiating the ticket price,
you hit it at a hard time, like
I hope, like, the good thing about me is that sometimes I just take action before thinking.
I love that. I mean, I love that.
So there's a saying that great leaders, the great sales guys, they take action and after that they commit after they think about like how they can make it happen.
The mechanics. I always say that. What's the intent?
Yeah.
Never mind the mechanics and the minutia, the details.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can sell the tickets for the thing, and then we'll worry about how we're going to do it.
Hope, like one of the benefits that I had is not knowing where I was going. I didn't even know how the market is going to react. All I knew is I'm going to make it happen. No matter what, I'm going to make it happen.
And you did, man.
And I did.
And it's quite an accomplishment.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So, selling an event is very hard, meaning like it's a luxury, so you need to create a story. And I didn't have any facts. I didn't have any proof of concept. I don't have any pictures, no videos at all. I never done a conference, so it's all about all in the details of the story, right? The story was, hey, we never had a conference like this. Usually we go out to see other conferences. Why not happen here in Montreal? So that was kind of.
I'm bringing it to you.
I'm bringing it into you. So that was kind of the storyline, and you know what? After, and especially selling to realtors and mortgage brokers, that's another story. That's another story.
I understand that part all too well.
Only the last week, it's crazy. I knew it. Like people told me about it. Like in the event side, like the last week, that's where you get the most sales.
Okay.
But it was so stressful from day 0 to like up until the conference, because the ticket sales they weren't moving fast, and I had to pay people. I have to pay the venue. I have to pay Ryan. I have to pay Daniel G. I have to pay so many people.
So in the contracts with such a personality, let's put it that way, is there a minimum amount of people that have to show up? Like you said, like Patrick, but David said, not him, but someone in his team said, if it's not, if there's only I don't know, half the room that shows up, then it's not good for his brand. Did Ryan have such a clause?
We told him that it's going to be around 1,000 people. So I don't know if I said 100 people, he would be down to do it.
Okay, so they didn't say to you at any point in time, hey, what's the number like? Or
yeah, but it was always on my sales script. The 1,000 people, right? So I didn't really give them the chance to like tell me, hey. we have to be a certain amount.
So do you get to sit with him and discuss, pick his brain, like not just do the actual event itself, but just on, I don't know, is there time for you to just sit and chat?
He's a pretty chill person.
Yeah?
Like he when you work with him, he gives you the time that we need. And I had plenty of moment where we were like just together. From the airport, we rented a limousine
to go pick him up.
To pick him up up to the venue. When I did the podcast, he gave me more than enough time to have this podcast with him. So all those moments together, it was plenty of moment to talk to him.
So someone's watching right now, wants to see this. This is all up on your YouTube channel and most of your social. But you can learn a ton. I mean, how long was the actual interview with Ryan?
Ryan was around 40 minutes because we messed it up. Those are the mistakes that because we had cameras and all that stuff, but the cameras weren't working, mic weren't working.
Okay.
And I was kind of super like you can see it on the podcast. I was sweating.
But you still got 40 minutes of value here.
Yeah. 40
and so I mean, is there things that someone can learn? I mean, they're watching this. I'm sure they're learning something.
He's a realtor. He sells houses till today.
And that's what realtors like to watch and think and talk about,
So there's a moment I told you about before the podcast. There's a moment he was looking at his phone because he was ringing, and there's a moment he said, "Man, give me a moment. This freaking realtor, she's keep calling me." So he was kind of in the transaction. So that's kind of funny, So Ryan is still in the business. Compared to PBD, he's working on the business.
Right.
He has a lot of people that works for him.
It's a different. Ryan's like the technician, the guy in the factory doing the thing. You know what I mean? Like
it's really hard for him. I think he mentioned it in different podcasts. It's really hard for him when a billionaire calls him and hey, I want to sell this property. He can't really send someone else because they want Ryan.
He's the brand.
He's the brand. Now I know he has an agency now, Serujan.
Yeah.
That he's trying to push so he can get out of the business.
Yes.
But there's a point where he can't really say no to if Jeff Bezos calls him just tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he asks for Ryan, he has to go there.
So the conversation then with him was different, obviously, than with like you said, Patrick was more about working on like the bigger stuff, I guess. No,
yeah, Patrick is more on the business. We were talking about like leadership. We're talking about managing a team. We're talking about like politics, a little bit of politics as well. He's very big in politics. We're talking about more in the values and the principle of how to be a better man.
So for you, and I mean, I'm just throwing this, and you correct me, but for you, I guess you got way more out of the Patrick interview. No, I'm not dismissing the technical stuff, but
I can say that I had more experience when I was talking to PBD, because now I already met a star, Now I know that they're still humans. I met him in person. We shook hands, so it was easier for me to talk to PBD, and I was a greater fan of PBD, meaning like I used to consume like Ryan was a coincidence. I wasn't aiming for Ryan.
A byproduct.
Exactly. So I knew Ryan, but I was always aiming for PBD. So now I got in touch with Ryan. So I learned a little bit more about Ryan and the whole his business and everything. But yeah, he was.
So all of this you're doing, you're getting great visibility. It's all through social media, obviously. You've been on the social game more than anybody I know. You've been building your channels, your different platforms. We're talking off camera that it's the consistency, it's the not quitting part. What makes you not quit? Because you did this and you're still doing it, and it's a lot of work. Like this is not even it's not your source of revenue per se in a direct way. You know what I mean? Like you're a mortgage guy. You're in that world and you do great there, and then you're doing all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. Like it's insane to just the event stuff and. How do you just keep going? Like, what's the drive?
I think I love the game. I love the game of podcasting. I love the game of meeting better.
Yeah, but what?
People.
Like, what is it? Is it the views, the growth of the channel?
I recently experienced the views. like when I interview people, nothing bad to say. It's just a smaller niche. So you get 2,000 views, 2,000 views, 15,000 views at max.
If at all.
But yeah, right. But you know, when I got to interview PBD, I went up to 200,000 views, and it's still counting today. So obviously, it's like it's a new adrenaline, you know, right? It's a new adrenaline, but
it's a new high. It's a new
high.
So when you did that interview, that's not that long ago that you put it up, right?
Yeah, it's less than maybe 2 weeks.
And then you were saying that it took at least like a good 2 days before some traction the views got bigger, and from there on, can you feel the impact or not yet?
I'm sitting down with you today.
Yeah.
You know? Right?
And that's the only reason. No. But I mean, is it tangible yet? Or
100%.
No?
It's 100%. Like it's tangible if I do anything about it. Right? If you let that go.
So what do you do about it? Like, how do we use this? Because there's a big expense here. It's not an expense. It's a big investment. Mm-hmm. And so, how do you
go bigger?
Extract?
Go bigger. Go get this momentum going. Get bigger people. It's really hard to get anything bigger than PBD unless you go for Trump.
Yeah,
I'll get there.
I mean, he's
one
at
day.
the top there, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, so can you share a bit of your
100%? Like it's get other good people, good business people. I like books, so I'm going for authors. That's definitely something I'm aiming for, because you can learn so many things about those people. Like Robert Kiyosaki is one of them. Those kind of guys I want to aim for. And now that I have a good resume, I'm able to.
It's easier to, I guess, approach the team or these people or the credibility thing.
Everyone has different ways, like how they want to get approached. Sometimes you just cold email them, and surprisingly, they're the one who's responding.
Oh, yeah?
It's co-founders of big companies like Netflix. I'm aiming for that kind of people. That's on the podcast side, but also in my business side. I came from nothing, right? I was born in Sri Lanka. I came here when I was 8. I was stuttering when I was little. I got bullied when I was little. So I just learned that every time I put the effort, I was having some results. I was seeing some results.
Yeah, but not fast though.
Not fast, but I remember in my teenage years, I was so bullied that I spoke about it once in a podcast. I was so bullied that I had to change school. So I made the decision. I haven't even told my parents that that's the reason I'm changing school. I told my parents I'm changing school because I wanted to go to a sport études basket.
Yeah, but that wasn't
the real reason. The real reason was because I got bullied, and I was a chubby kid. I wasn't working that time, so parents were the one who was buying all the clothes for me. So I didn't have the best clothes.
Right. It was like a vicious circle.
Summer, I decided to go to the gym, hit the gym every day, on the treadmill for like 20-30 minutes, like running really fast. Dropped the weight, bought new clothes because I was working as a cleaner at Zuki's. There's a restaurant called Zuki's at Marché Central. I made some money, bought new clothes.
You took charge.
I took charge. I changed school. I made new friends, and it's crazy how everything changed. And I thought of it, okay, that's because I took action. I didn't let the life decide.
So there was there was no outside influence to that? I mean, there was the influence of the being bullied and not liking where you're at, but I'm saying there was no inspiration of someone
I was always into like watching videos on YouTube. Like I didn't really have any inspiration around me, but it didn't stop me to get that inspiration from outside. Like on the net. Today, if you wanna consume Tony Robbins, you can go on YouTube and watch Tony Robbins. You don't have to go there. In the 80s, 70s, I'm sure it was harder. You had to go into books, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So there's no excuse. So I was consuming other like content like this, and they always said, if you want to change your life, it starts within you, right? If you don't like the environment, you can change the environment.
Because you gotta have so much persistence to do the social thing to even get a bit of traction.
Yeah.
And so I mean I know I talk to I have brokers. I talk to a lot of brokers, and everybody quits. Like everybody's quitting because it's too hard. And everybody says to me about social when I say I love social, not to consume it, but I mean to use as a vehicle. everybody says it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work because you stop, you quit, you're too impatient. That's why I'm always curious to when I find individuals like yourself that just don't quit. You just don't quit.
The reason why is I had a hard life, right? My childhood, from my childhood to teenage years, it was pretty hard. My parents, they always give everything that they could have. They could. They weren't rich parents neither. Like till today, they have a dépanneur on Rose Mall 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, changing shift from my mother to the dad. So
they always had
they still have today.
Okay, so you saw your parents do the 7 days a week, non-stop.
So
holidays, doesing matter.
That doesn't matter. No, Christmas. Okay. I didn't have Christmas. I didn't have any holidays. They were always working. If we were going somewhere like Toronto, usually we go to Toronto because we have family there. That's pretty much our trip.
That's the vacation.
Here and there, every 4 years, maybe 5 years, maybe we go to Italy or UK or somewhere like that because we have family there. When we go there, we stay with the family. We don't really go see stuff, right? So because of those reasons, I saw that every time I'm taking action, I had what I wanted. It's like a drug for me. So now nothing can stop me.
Well, now you're challenging yourself. Now you're like, okay, what else can I do? What else can I do?
100%.
That's the high.
That's a super high. That's like a drug. When knowing that with the way you can achieve anything. Now I have PBD. Like imagine how my mind thinks now. I'm unstoppable.
I want to know what the next thing is. You can't share nothing. Come on.
There's gonna be Elevate Part 2, obviously in 2025.
Okay.
It's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be larger. We're aiming for 1,500 people.
Okay.
And the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna be smart about it this time. So we're not gonna reach only for the realtors and mortgage broker. We're gonna reach the whole real estate.
Okay.
So it's gonna be entrepreneurs, business owners.
I was just gonna say, so anybody that has a business will benefit from the line of
real estate. Real estate business owners, anyone who wants to learn about real estate, sales, marketing, prospecting, values, the whole game.
So that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be super fun. Yeah,
I like that.
So we're aiming 1,500 people. I already signed the main speaker. And now it's making sure that we take the right steps and
that you apply what you've learned on the other events to make it a tad not tad to improve on the things that maybe weren't.
It's gonna be easier this time, right? Like I don't have to prove to anybody now that I'm capable of doing an event, and so money will be easier to.
I want to talk about social media again because I know this is a big thing and I see it in real estate. No one's using social to its real full capacity, if at all. I think we're really using it. A lot of people watching, a lot of the brokers, people in the industry are using maybe 10% of its capacity. How have you seen it change? What do you see change? What are the trends now? Is there things that you're like, okay, I got to adapt, change, tweak to stay relative and or to keep growing? Or
yeah, that's a great question. Listen, I'm trying different stuff. I'm always trying new ideas. There's a moment where the trendy stuff to do is taking a hook from a video, where this guy drives a motorcycle and he falls, and then you jump in and you talk about like boring stuff, mortgage stuff.
Yeah.
So I used to do that. I'm still doing the podcast. So you have to do so many things because if your goal, what I like to say to mortgage brokers and realtors is, if your goal is to become the next Joe Rogan, then my friend, it's gonna be super hard. You have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But if your goal is to make business out of social media, then it's super easy.
I think that's good that you're talking about that. There's a big misconception about being an influencer versus using the platforms for your whatever you're doing in your business. You don't need the 5 billion trillion followers if we're talking about real estate brokers and or mortgage brokers to use and to see that the power of social can bring you to your business.
You're not selling anything. You're not selling a pen at $10, so you need like millions of followers to be able to sell that pen, right? You're selling real estate. You're selling a high ticket item. right? So one sale can bring you $20,000 up to $50,000, $100,000.
And it's local.
I'm sorry?
It's local.
And it's local. So all you have to do is become the most known guy in your city, in your local area.
In your communities.
That's all you need to do.
That's
As
right.
a realtor, what I would do is, like interview all the business owners in your street.
Well, that's what I'm doing now.
That's what you're doing.
So
right
what
now.
you're going to start seeing is me with the business owners in the community. I've pulled the 10,000 businesses in the West Island. I'm going to start with we're started, but I haven't put it up yet. But that's exactly what you're suggesting. Because I've been saying it to brokers, but no one's doing it. So I'm like, I'm going to do it.
People think that I'm an influencer. Maybe accidentally I became an influencer, but initially my whole reason why I got into social media is not to get as the most followers as possible. Is to get business.
I mean, as collateral, if it becomes, then great. But that's not. You're not using social to be the next
Joe Rogan,
or Joe or whoever it is that you guys follow or like.
Now I think it's possible. Like now that I got.
Well, why not? I mean, if you keep on going,
100%.
Yeah. But the original thing and I think most could stop at just being seen locally and nurturing the relationships with the local communities their network.
The same game. At the top level, the same game. So basically, once you get the biggest guy on the street, then you get easier to get the other guy. But then the bigger guy that you met in the first place, you had a podcast with him, and it was much easier to have him on a podcast to ask him for a business. And then you build that relationship, and then you can ask for any referral, any business, any.
If you study this guy, if you go see, like, what did he do to start on social or to the beginning? Like, I know, see what you're talking about, the business owners, if you're a realtor, you did with real estate brokers.
Yeah.
Agents, brokers, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You did the podcast to interview them because you're in the mortgage game, and you're like, well, if I showcase them, if I give them the visibility indirectly, I get to be known, I might get the business. And you will, because you're known, and that's how it,
Well, in the first place, when I started this Les Courtiers du Québec, which is now Elevate Podcast, because we're going international, baby.
That's the mindset, of course.
Because when I was talking to Ryan about the podcast name, he's like, what? Les Courtiers du Québec?
Yeah.
That was kind of funny. Now it's Elevate Podcast. So what I realized is, when I started 5 years ago as the podcast, I had no contacts. I was very young. Just got out of my position as an assistant for another broker, mortgage broker. So I'm really in the business for the past 4 years, I would say. Totally.
But that's what's amazing. I mean,
by myself, 4 years, and I asked myself, how can I get more good relationship out of realtors and mortgage brokers? My business came from mortgage brokers as well, so that's one of the reasons I got a podcast where I interview mortgage brokers and realtors. And the whole idea is I can learn from those guys.
Yeah.
Like if I ask Etienne to give me an hour, and I'm just coming in as a realtor, as a mortgage broker, like, Etienne, you're too busy. You're busy. You value your time, so you won't really say yes unless you have something to
gain from it.
Right?
Which is the visibility.
Which was the visibility. I was one of the first to interview like realtors.
But where'd you get that idea? Like, was there someone that you saw doing it, and you're like, hey, this is a good idea?
Yeah, so I saw content in English for mortgage brokers. I was listening to it while I was studying to become a mortgage broker. I'm like, what if I do it in French? I had a blue ocean for me. So I started doing that. Having an hour conversation with Etienne or Georges Badadio, Patrice Mena, obviously I'll gain a lot. And on top of it, I'm sharing with everybody else. And then it's going to be easier for me to go to George after that and ask him, hey, why won't we work together or something?
And you're smart, because you then offer the guest, hey, do you want to put a bit of money behind it to promote you? But it promotes you at the same time.
Same, yeah, 100%.
It's genius. It's genius.
I think podcast is it's a great model to build your business of real estate.
But those that say, look, there's everybody's doing it, there's a million of them out there, who cares, right? What's your opinion on that?
Because if your goal is to be different, is to get to Joe Rogan level, then maybe saturated. But if your goal is to bring business from the podcast, build relationship, You don't have to think about. You don't have to think that much.
And forget the views.
Forget the views.
Forget all of that stuff about the performance of. It doesn't matter. You'll still grow your business.
Think of podcasts to build relationship with people that are harder to get.
And who doesn't want visibility? In business, I mean, like who will say no to that? So, I mean, that's great. Other than the podcast thing, what else do you see or could say to brokers, whoever's looking at watching that's in business or wants to get more business, they should do? Is there a platform you prefer? Is there? I don't know
what? I have this new idea that came in recently. Do events. Do events.
But that's a big endeavor, man. Like that's.
But you don't have to do an event of 900 people. You could do an event of 10 people, 20 people, 30 people, right? Because once you're able to talk in front of 30 people, you sell the same stuff you're selling to one person on a one-on-one meeting.
Yeah.
You're doing it in front of 30 people. If you do a first-time buyers seminar, then you're able to bring 30 people.
Okay.
And then eventually, like those people, once they're ready. That's like the old school way of doing it. Grant Cardone, he has a whole conference about how to bring people on the stage. So he teaches people that
he's a master at that.
Listen, recently I went to I was in Toronto this weekend, and I went for that conference. So he was collaborating with Seth Ferguson, who does the multifamily conference, big conference.
Yes. I think Mike went to that last year.
So he collaborated with Grant Cardone to do this small event, which had around 100 people, and they all paid, like at the end, I was looking at the booths, like it's the sales booth. They all paid like $20,000 to learn on how to become better at on like building a stage. That's crazy, right?
It's insane. It's insane.
So if you're able to build your own conference, it could be small conferences.
What about doing the conference, but adding, and this is what Grant does, and I think is genius. See, Grant, what I like is that I consume, but I study him more than I consume his things.
Yeah.
I see why. I ask myself, why is he doing that? And then he repackages everything. So he does one event, but he packages the whole thing into about 1,000 different products with one event. I don't know if you're doing this already, maybe you are, but taking that event, but doing it also on the digital side of things at a lower price, as a subscription, as a stream, as a, later on discounted kind of video package I buy in. Did you do that, or are you doing it now?
There's going to be a different products.
Maybe I should talk.
There's going to be different products at my next conference, obviously, because I learned so much. I'm ready to share. Something else I would do is, if you want to talk about digital stuff, I will definitely do webinars. Webinars are super easy to do. You're sitting in front of your computer.
I love that.
All you have to do is promote it for a month, and boom. Like last time, I was looking for private lending funds, right?
Yeah.
So because I'm a private lender, I have funds that I manage. I'm like, hey, I want to get to know more people so I can get more funds. So I made a webinar about how to become a private lender. So you reach out to people that are curious about how to become a private lender, and those people have funds that I tell them, hey, it's easier to start with a guy like me who have experience than like investing your $100,000 somewhere we don't know how the whole product works. There's a lot of risk associated to private lending. So I taught them on how to become a private lender, the whole value
through a webinar.
An hour webinar. At the end, I'm like, hey, listen, by the way, if you want to start, if you have some kind of funds, if you're legally accredited, how do you say that?
Accredited.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Accredited, then we can work together. And boom, I had 100 people on my webinar.
I'm surprised that there's not more than in real estate brokers, mortgage brokers that do, like you said, these webinar conferences about buying, about selling, about financing, about the whole process, about this, that. It's all on demand. I built the studio there for that reason.
Super nice
I could
studio.
sit there, go use StreamYard, do the webinar, repost it, repackage it, watch it when you want at this price, which is cheaper because I already did it. It's one time recorded. You can do it live. You can do it's
crazy.
There's so much stuff. So when you do these things, you do it. You target the world, or you always pick geographically. Let's say you do an ad campaign through Meta, you're going to do Quebec only? You're going to go North America?
Depends on the product I'm selling.
Depending
like
on what it is.
I'm going to go national, international. Like I'm going to target states because I want this event to be a destination event every year. So people from across all around the world come see the event, especially like in Montreal. It's a nice city, so they will enjoy the city as well as being.
What about selling how to do it at your level? Have you thought of that?
Like
doing a webinar saying, your first event, you want to think about this, and that. Like, doing selling that.
Like, listen, you know what?
There's so much stuff. You're limited in time too, I guess, at some point.
You know what? It's crazy because there's so many ways I can make money.
Monetize.
Right? I can monetize it. I'm getting there, but
let me be your agent. I take 10% of everything.
But I want to do it the right way because last conference I haven't sold anything. All I wanted to do is making sure that people loved it.
Yeah, but it's like a business. You're not gonna be
maybe
profitable.
I lost $250,000.
But you can't look at it like that.
But the reality
but I mean, it's an investment. I don't see it as a loss. It's like any new product or any new service.
I'm not talking about the whole conference was a loss. I'm talking about the loss of business. Because if I sell anything, if I sell anything, like a conference, a mastermind, whatever, like at $5,000, if it was a convincing product where I can bring values, I lost so much money. Even 10% who bought it out of 900 people, I would have 90 people at $5,000, right? But I haven't sold anything because you know why? Because I wasn't into money. All I wanted to do, maybe it's something.
But now the second one you're gonna do that.
We gotta act smart. But what I'm saying is, I wanted to make sure that the whole conference it's a success, and I didn't want to sell anything that I wasn't convinced.
Yeah. You want to put your name to something or a product or service or something that's not 100% what you believe in, trust, and know, and
100%. So for me, like if the people that I bring, the product I'm selling, it's very important for me to that I'm convinced that it's a good product, and I don't want to rush to build a product in a matter of a month to sell it, and after that, it's
disappoint
people,
or have your name
disappointed. It's a high ticket item, so it's easy to to blame your.
Well, I'm excited, man. I'm excited for the future. I'm so happy you came and shared all of this with everybody here and with myself and the team. Can I say that anybody that buys their next ticket through me or uses my name gets something?
100%. I don't know what.
Can we do? Just mention me when you do the acquisition of the whatever, and you'll get something.
Hey, definitely. I don't know what's gonna be, but
we'll figure it out. But you'll get something. It's something of value.
Thank you for the invitation.
Really appreciate it.
I hope you liked it.
Thank you, sir.